Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Let's Known Classics. This is episode number 3246, Doubleshot 3140. First up we have is the final trade to collect issues for Witchblade Volume 2. Witchblade by Kttredge, Volume 3. So, I kind of looked up exactly why this book ended. By the way, this book contains issues 13 and 18 of Witchblade Volume 2. Why did the book end? Well, I think one of the reasons why it ended because no one was reading at the time, because the book had very little focus on the Witchblade itself. It just did whatever the writer was doing at the time. And apparently because the writer of this book was apparently also a novel writer too. But here's the thing. You want to know two very popular comic writers? Well, one of them is not very big in the comic writer, but basically a balance of between. There's one particular person who has written both comics and novels and can do a good job telling both, that being the late Peter David. I believe also JMS did the same thing too. I have read his novels, but I've read his comic books. But from what I can tell, you probably can keep good balance. Not in the case of Caitlin. Nope, not in the case of her for some weird reason. Yeah, I don't really know exactly the reason for it, but yeah. So, Robert Gazinka on the artwork. So, a lot of this is basically the Witchblade is in prison. Apparently there's crazy stuff going on in Manhattan, and there's some spells going on. I got it in the artwork is really good. Yeah. Yeah, we see some people here. And we have somebody basically who's... And of course fighting the Shadowblade, which is somebody who was debuted in the previous set of issues. And basically Witchblade battles her in this book. By the end, Alex Underwood is no longer Witchblade. And also the fact that Statue of Liberty currently is a lot of destruction in Manhattan. And the Witchblade doesn't do much anything at all. It's like... You read this book, and you can definitely see why the book ended. Because the book was written by... Oh, wait, there's actually one person who was a successful narrator who actually is on very good time in comics as well, that being Greg Hurwitz. He's another one. There's Michael Jan Fredman. He does an excellent job too, but he doesn't do many comics per se. But yeah, Greg Hurwitz is definitely another one. But in the case of this person, no. It's like they picked a novel writer because they like their work. So I guess Marxists agreed to this. So, and my guess is that the book wasn't working after publishing for 18 issues. So Top Cal pulled the plug on this book after 18 issues. And by the way, Alex Underwood, after this volume ended, was never seen again in comics. Not really. Yeah. Battles Demon. It battles the Shadowblade. Merge back together. And then the book just ends. Yeah. By the way, there is a relaunch that happens a few years, at least a few years after this, like last year. And she doesn't show up at all because the book is a reboot of the original volume. But the best thing about this run is, by the way, I give this book roughly an 8 out of 10. Final thoughts on Witchblade Volume 2. An okay volume. Nothing terrible here. It's just that the problem with this book is it doesn't feel like Witchblade. Like, you read all 18 issues, you're like, where's the Witchblade? Barely appears in a book called this one. Yes, and the Witchblade is basically basically not like a small bracelet like the way it was when Sarah Pacelli basically was the host. This one in particular, just some random journalists that picked up this book, and that's it. But next in Scott's Witchblade would be one more trail to go, and that'd be of the most recent volume of the series, which I did check. It's still being published. Yes, it's released of issues so far. So, next up, basically, we have is Lobster Johnson, Omnibus, Volume 1. You think, wait. Lobster Johnson. Yeah, he is basically he is Mike Mignola's World War II character. Wears his fancy suit, he's got a claw on his chest. Oh, and little fun fact, did you know this guy did appear in live action? Well, let's see. He appeared in. Apparently, he appears briefly in Hellboy. I think he was supposed to appear briefly in a cameo in the original Hellboy movie. But this book in particular, this is of course the first omnibus. But for some weird reason, it doesn't start with the first trade, which is the Iron Prometheus. Doesn't start there. Oh no. Follow that lobster. So, the stories in here are The Empty Chair, which short story from the Hellboy Winter Special, The Burning Hand, which that is actually the second trade, and that's actually issues 6 to 10 of this book. Then you had The Cop of Mortem, which is issue 12. Satan Smells Like a Rat, 13. Scent of the Locust, 14-15. Tony Macedo's Finest Hour, which is actually it's a short story from Darker Arcana Presents Volume Number 9. Prayer Nafsu is issue 11. Yes. And there's also the Get Lobster one, which is basically issues 16 and 20 of Lobster Johnson. So, around a lot of these books, like some point in the book, basically he battles a lot of gangsters, so that's where the Get Lobster comes from. By the way, Mike Mignola does the covers of this book. So, first over The Empty Chair, we have Lobster Johnson deal with this. It's basically like a gangsters at a card table. They're waiting for somebody, and Lobster basically is here. Oh yeah, and then he kills all three guys in this short story. And then we have The Burning Hand. By the way, John Curry does the co-writing with Zach Zondrig on the artwork. Plus, I love this cover artwork here. Reminds me a lot of the Batman animated series, which I'm sure Mike Mignola, he may have worked on those title cards, and this feels like basically like that. So we have these Native Americans just randomly show up attacking people. And they shoot them, and then for some reason, the symbol of Lobster Johnson basically, and of course the joke of Cuss's Revenge, appears on the forehead. And by the way, do you suspect Lobster to be involved with it? No, not really, no. We have a woman relaxing on a cruise ship in the Caribbean. By the way, this book is set in the late 1930s, like around the time World War II was going on. Like I think this is prior to World War II, because you could say this is one of the earliest chronological appearances of the Hellboy universe with these stories. Yes. So, also got one thing I gotta admire about these issues here: the gorgeous artwork by the artist. Yes. You guys playing pool. By the way, in case you're curious though, does Lobster kill people? Yes, he does. Bad guys, of course. Yeah, he's sort of a vigilante. Here's part 2 of The Burning Hand. Yeah, and it's done in the style of pulp stories. And I've always had basically a fondness for stories like this. Yes, that's what aside from the Hellboy movie, this is what drew me to Hellboy comics. Like reading these comics, I'm like, wow, Mike Mignola clearly loves sci-fi pulps. Well, actually more like magical, but basically, it's like the old movie serials. It's like he loves these damn things. Yeah, and plus the World War II aesthetic for Lobster Johnson is probably the reason why he did this. Oh yeah, and Lobster, you can kind of think of him as if you want basically a popular pulp character. He's similar to the Shadow. Yep, the Shadow, except for it was Lobster Johnson. The only way he's similar to the Shadow is the fact he uses a gun. Pistols, mind you. Yes, pistols. Yep. He kills gangsters. I love the whole aesthetic. And here's part 3. I gotta show these amazing covers. It is so awesome. You gotta. I just simply love these covers. Yeah, and also we have this weird thing put in the smoke. What ends up burning a guy. Burns his arms, burns his chest, and he's dead. This black flame. Yep. Of course, keep an eye on a pretty lady here. By the way, do you ever see Lobster with his mask on? Well, in these stories here, not really. Of course, there's this weird guy who's basically falling apart. Yeah. Of course, Lobster does deal with him in this story. That's why it's called the Burning Hand, because he burns stuff. Part 4. Yep. Yeah. You know, for an omnibus, it doesn't feel like an omnibus. Omnibus usually is much longer than this. An omnibus is like over 500 pages, or this is similar to, yeah, basically Dark Horse's version of an omnibus is similar to Marvel's Epic Collections or their Essential line. That is mostly put exactly what this book, what the format is similar to. Yes. Yep. So we have a turn going on here. It's like justice, and yeah, the Burning Man dies. Also, apparently, that this woman is singing, and this guy still keeps coming. Eventually, they do stop him, finally. Part 5. Yeah, so the cover is him shooting zombies, which that seems awesome. Then we see one person who was shot in the arm, and he gets healed. Yep. And of course, Lobster just deals with these, and basically goes to his basement. He deals with these cannibals, shoots all of them, actually like zombies. He basically contains a zombie outbreak pretty quickly. Then we have this man in a white suit. Oh yeah, Vigilante Justice, and we move on to Complex Motorium, which basically is a one-shot story. Which, That's the cover for it. Yeah, guys, movie theater. Then we have this random guy basically just dies in front of him and he just turns to goo, red goo, and it's all about the Germans. And of course, Lobster Johnson's on this blimp. Yep. Oh yeah, he leaves his mark on people thanks to his hand. So, the hand itself basically leaves the mark. Which, you're thinking, wait a minute. Branding criminals like this, with this mark. You're thinking, that sounds familiar. I mean, what character live action did that recently in the last decade? Batman. Yes, this was happening in Batman v Superman, though we stopped doing that. I wonder if Zack Snyder basically took this from Lobster Johnson and gave it to Batman. Oh, little fun fact about Lobster Johnson. Did you know he was going to be included in a video game as a downloadable character and voiced by Bruce Campbell? Yes, seriously. Excuse me, so we have some butt kicking here. So this whole story is Lobster versus Nazis, and then Satan smells like a rat. We have Lobster Johnson basically just, well, it's just short. It's basically a one-shot story. It's not like a multi-part one. By the way, after basically Burning Hand, everything is like your 1 or 2 part stories. Yeah. And lots of really cool stuff happening here. Lobster kills some more people here. Mostly bad people. This guy really wanted to walk again. Scum, you scum. Wasn't bothering you. I don't care, but you destroyed me. Dr. Andrews was to cure me. I'm going to walk in. I was going to walk. He granted. Yep. They're right. Yeah, and then the guy just found dead. Where Lobster's branding him. Yep, and we have Thomas Edison's Finest Hour, which is a short story from Dark Arkham Presents. It is just a story involving a character from Lobster Johnson. Lobster just goes after this guy. This really quick story here. And then we have Scent of Locusts, which this story leads into Get Lobster. Yep. Believe it or not, this story here, this 2-parter, leads into the 5-parter Get Lobster. So it's like you have this one trade paperback just covering roughly 15 straight issues. Yes. Sans Locust, like, yeah, this is most of a story set in Chinatown. Yep. During the Chinese New Year, presumably during the Year of the Dragon. Those of you curious, what was the last Year of the Dragon? Last year. Last year's Year of the Dragon, because it's celebrated once every 12 years. First time, along with life, 88, 2000, 2012, and last year. 88, every year I was born. 2000, when I was 12. In 2012, I was 24, and last year I was 36. Yeah, basically it's a. And by the way, Mike Mignola does not write the Chinese basically as stereotypical when they were originally published back in the 30s, where very much a racist depiction of them. Here they're depicted as no people. There's monkeys here, and just really cool stuff here for this quick little 2-parter, which leads into the third 5-part of the series. Okay, next is Prayer of Nefastu, which this one This one in particular is actually issue 11. Yes. For some weird reason, they put this after Son of Locust. I don't know why, but it did. And the cover looks like that Lobster is about to shoot the Shadow, but that's not the Shadow. Oh, don't worry about that. It would have been interesting if basically Lobster crossed over with the Shadow. I'm sure that basically Mike Mignola can ask Dynamite, who currently publishes Shadow Comics, which they have license, like, hey, can I borrow the Shadow for a cool story with Lobster Johnson? I'm sure they're like, sure, no problem. It's more of this Egyptian type of setting. Even Lobster gets captured for the first time ever in these books. And he's about to be killed, but look how he kills basically the servants. Which the whole thing of this one is like involving like spirits be contained in one guy and they get released. And then we need to get Lobster. Which here's another really cool cover here. This five-parter is basically where a lot of the action, basically, where people go after Lobster Johnson. It's also a wrestling match. Well, 40's a complete wrestling match. Here we get shut up here. And people are wondering, who is Lobster Johnson? Yep. Who is Lobster Johnson? Basically, he's a wanted man. In this arc, don't worry, he gets the whole thing he wanted, he gets elected by the end of this story arc. If so, there would not be a series after this. Yeah, basically the whole thing of Get Lobster is a reporter trying to find out who Lobster Johnson really is. And it is just an amazing story. I just recommend people check the book out. The book was awesome. And I get this book, unlike in the case of unlike in the case of Witchblade, this book was actually really good. Okay? So yeah, that is pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, notifications. Next up is Doctor Who. Okay? Next video. Bye.